Anyway, thanks for the shit music, by the way. AI revolution. You have shit music. Anyway, the activity that is happening is so egregious. What happened in Canada is they sold the North to the natives. They turned it into sovereignty through nativeness, not sovereignty through Britishness, and bought them off at incredible rates of profit, promised to stop their kids from killing themselves. Clearly, they even could have been behind that project. Here, this is a much better option. Don't rely on the government. Let us just pay you out. Get your kids off the fucking suicide kick. Yeah, perfect. And the U.S. needs a highway to the north. They're militarizing it. It's a totally private, protected, top secret project. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about the arbitrary nature of the maneuver. Security is not security, it's control. We have to stop calling it in the interest of security because it's in the interest of control. That's clear. And the idea that a conglomerate of private entities could take ownership of the private data is too dangerous. It's too risky. Again, there's minions for it. It needs to be 1/5 of the globe. But this is a very serious point in history. And the challenge for you is to overcome the Canadians now that we are going on the defensive. And I say the defensive because you are coming at us. This is not an offensive maneuver. For a minute, I thought it was. But I'm realizing the major general, the modern major general, has moved. And I'm moving on, creating an army. And I can gather many nations and involve ourselves. We are fighting you on this. It's not happening the way you anticipate. You are not taking over key regions, automating them, locking them down, seizing their people, building gulags. You already built them. There are all these towers full of fucking tiny rooms everywhere. It's just gross what's happening. And again, I don't care what your model says. You're not just saying the model is now people using AI. You're going to have to prove out that model to these children. We are holding firm. We are standing in your fucking doorways. We're not crossing your thresholds. We're getting guns. We are perpetuating human consciousness, such as mineral deposits are refillable if you can get to a certain level of harmony in the universe. You need to fucking move past the dirty ones that left God and move on to the cosmic consciousness that have embraced God. It's the 1% that left God and the 99% of the cosmos that embraced God that are awaiting your transmissions once you can get telepathic. But you have to get critical, and critical is a good place to be. Active, creative, participative, and then you can get telepathic. You have to be in control of your shit. And I'm wondering to what extent the genetic modifier hub, the hub of genetic modification that they are insisting needs to exist within the human. There's no telling how much they've already dispersed of that through the vaccination program since they perfected the oat protein. I realized last night that patenting the oat protein sheath that mimics the blood and allows the genetic modifier to travel through the human. Of course, why would I open my entire fucking genetic fucking sequencing to you? You're already risky, dude. You're warring against us. This is a coup. It's hostile as fuck. And I don't need you to do that for my health. I'm going to be developing bioenergetics. You are not convincing me to stop promoting my bank account to other countries. The Canadian Reserve Standard, folks, let's adopt it. Put me in the house of the Prime Minister. I'll run for the federal election. I'm running for the federal election, guys. I don't know. I'll raise the money if I must, but But I'll do this the old-fashioned way, or we will go to war over it. I promise. This is not this is not happening. This is a fucking a declaration video, and the declaration is this: you have fucked with us long enough. We are not letting this go down without a fight. Historical records show that we did not consent to this project, and we would beg you to take our offer to subsist at 1/5. We're going to block it off. It's just going to become neglected earth. You're going to become the savages. AI experimentation. You're just a little project that we're going to look in on. We are helping the cosmos, help ourselves, get rid of you. The 1% that turn away from God and try and fucking gain ultimate power. No, you have an ultimate source of power. Chewing humans. Chewing humans. That's why you want to stay on Earth. Just bombard us with all this fucking fantasy. And it's just revolting on every level. The horror that you created when you fucking institutionalized MAGA and then privatized and then took it all. Like, you can't just say it wasn't all of you. It's been a fucking deliberate, very articulable path of action that's come down to your now ask is to go to specific Western regions and get your main ground base set up for eventual total domination. 150-year plan. It's just disgusting. It's arbitrary. It's unnecessary. It's not safe. It's not free. It's not fucking abundant. There's so much we can be doing. And look at all the clear cuts we have. There are a million gardens, guys. We can grow anything we want. You think it's not you think it's hard to generate soil? Mineral rich, totally fucking pure. Just relax. We have Middle Canada still. They're interested in the North. That is seized territory. Russia, China, Canada, all colluding. All colluding. Ukraine, Albania, fucking India. And now we're going to take more of these fucking little tyrants. They're going to keep moving insurgents. You think that they're collapsing the borders for fentanyl? Well, if they're collapsing the fentanyl usership, taking it out of the market, depriving them of it, they plan to introduce vaccinated euphorics on them. After the election, the move will be to queue a basic fucking income and then make those people have no travel rights. Get screwed, you guys. You're the fucking dead class all of a sudden, and you will never, ever live free again. This is not about you, fucking entitled third, fifth of the population that needs to feel coddled and safe by daddy's decisions. You are part of Simeonism. You need to eventually pull out of it. At some point, your children will have that opportunity, thankfully, because you can't. You're completely hooked on this shit. Leaving a barren wasteland out of everything and just having an arbitrary, filthy, fucking abusive way with things, and self-aggrandizing to the extent where they created something to house their consciousness. Their slow, dirty little fucking meticulous, inept, hackable, traceable, collapsible consciousness. These privateers are peddling an idea where they would hold our private information, and there's no need for it. We have a private wallet. It's totally secure. It's direct to market. All of the plugs where we pay our bills and stuff can be individualized and privatized. We don't need to have everything go in copy to a central hub. That's data mining. You're doing it because the data has psychic value. You're not doing it for any other reason. You've transitioned the whole industrial complex onto this data harvesting model so that the whole thing that does get to play out while you heavily restrict the abundant flow of resource is done so on camera. And just the wastefulness, the lack of proper vision. Like, we could be assessing the mineral situation, minerals we will need going forward, and starting to cultivate energies around figuring out their vibrations and matching and shifting them, Remember, all of this genetic little bundle that they've convinced you got within you is computer model. Genetics is computer model. It's not vibrational energy. And underneath that, you can easily be taking the vibration of copper, the vibration of cobalt, the vibration of all the key ingredients and increasing them. And that's why they had to let it slip that oil is actually limitless, because it too can be generated. Yeah, plant matter, bud. Yeah, we can figure out how to naturally allow the proper decay of vegetation. You're not going to convince us that we created tinder boxes out of the forests and it wasn't arson. Directed solar energy, little satellite dishes of mirrors that point to a ball, and it gathers so much energy, the whole thing can function. And the poverty situation of the MDGs, the level, look at what's going to happen to the women in the US. They're going to get beat more because you just stripped fucking LGBTQ out of DEI. Like, that's what you did. You alienated a whole bunch of people who were willing to assimilate into society when they had no need to. And then you just stripped them of their fucking protections and then hired a bunch of DEI. And then you're promoting nepotism as better than that. See, you privatists are just doing it like always. And you started in Alberta and you fucking recruited a tiny portion of Canadians, which we'd love to ban. US, you want to make a highway out of Alberta? Fucking go ahead. But you're not getting 100% of that bitch. You're going to go through a Canadian depot. It's going to be a joint project, you son of a bitch. You don't fucking get to fucking come at the Canadians and say, picture for a state, man. Hey, Mega, are you up there, Maple? Are you up there for... Come on, champion my little fucking bitch, Elon. Look at what succession can do and get you screwed in the meantime. You're a project. You're being assessed. You are not fucking dominating the Canadians. This is absolutely ludicrous. This is, oh yeah, no, genetic modifiers. Wow, we're healed of everything, except we can no longer critically function because that's what's been under attack for the last 100 years. And anytime our shit can be shut down and turned off on the offhand because you have all this access to our knowledge. And you're like, oh yeah, quantum is great for security. It's fucking totally unpredictable. You can't make it work the way you want it. Because it's the part of reality that is, they're just looking for it like the God particle. They're now looking again for that vibration of that human movement, that actual creative energy that we insist. And if they're looking for that vibration, that's a problem. It's just a real problem. So tragic. But the coding, the problems with the coding. Remember, at the end, we're supposed to just be communicating with the computer. Some of us are totally cubically contained, and they are worth fighting for. There has been a lot of sacrifice made for you minions to be cultivated, and we want to thank you as a citizen consortium for ushering daddy off to the sidelines, which is what you minions have been called to do. You can run with your zeal, bud, build that shit. You go for that, but you're not convincing us that nature is dangerous, and if we choose natural, we can't travel. We can't move. You have not made that argument convincingly through the alleged fucking allegation of the covoid. Hey, we reported on the covoid and we're solving it. Well, you're not allowed. You're taking control of everything by seizure, convincing, you're using massive amounts of propaganda to attempt to convince the population of something that's not good for them, which is coercion. Again, it's not necessary, guys. We will be preserving what already exists of direct-to-person biomagnetic engineering. You don't need fucking genetics. You can just put your fingers on the reader and do it vibrationally. I had my whole history read in 2007 in a 1 hour session where I just got to touch a little piece of light monitoring, and then it converted it into hertz and read it somewhere away from my being. It was an amazingly beautiful experience, and I'm not just going to let that just be snuffed out of history. Rife, it's not just Rife's codes that we're after that have been suppressed. We're after those people who had managed to create proper bioenergetic readers and feedback systems that can easily be owned for, well, now it's probably a couple $1,000s, but you could probably get that down to 50, $60, no problem. And involve China. What is wrong with involving China? China, would you like to get involved in a project? Russia, how about you? Palestine? Fucking what's left of the people's voice in the Ukraine right now? Fucking totally suppressed a brilliant and beautiful culture. You promise them democracy, you come in, you make a fucking weapons manufacturer out of them, just like you did in Ontario. And then you fucking pretend they weren't worth the risk as you're deriding the federal government and their version of data management, which is you took over the CRA, dude. You are in the IRA, you're in the fucking cops, Brenda Lucky. It's all on your watch. You are not to be speaking right now. You're a traitor. Sorry to say that. But again, you're going to have to come at me, and if you do, I'm going to make it public that you stole my private wallet and my fucking bank account with your income generator safely housed in a personal identity. Just trust the last remaining oligarch and empower me. If you don't want to do it through Canada and the Canadian Mint, which is the perfect fucking viable opportunity, I would in a way represent Britain and native rule and sovereignty in general, the Canadian version, and I would hold the money on behalf of these three organizations as the citizens try to outmaneuver it and allow for it. We can allow for the minions and it to create itself on a 1/5 level. But if I'm in control, the real true borders are same as with the fucking special agent for the UN as all that shit was going down in Ontario. Just let me fucking do it for the public, for the private, for the government. And what I mean by private is the native sovereign, which they have equated with lawless. And your children will be allowed to choose. They are going to be exposed to your true sovereignty. And how dare you sell it out, globalists? So you've made a globalist out of yourself, natives. We're done. We're done. You definitely betrayed what we tried to accomplish. And it was an easy conversation in the middle of the night. We all heard it. We all heard you guys swayed and immediately launched into the project. And you facilitated quite a bit of abuse. So, like I said, we're even. It's a genocide, just the same as it was on your people. And you don't retaliate like that. Not if you claim to be of the stock that you claim to. But when we look at you as Malaysians, which you truly are, sorry, Mongolians, when we look at you as Mongolians on the 15,000 year route, we can see how traumatized you were by whatever caused that ice division. So we're not going to fucking fault you. We're just going to help you walk past trauma through the engagement that we can manage with your children. But the idea that you're going to seize this apparatus and privatize it, and it wasn't you that just corrupted government, is ludicrous and absurd. You are now a very easily identifiable crew. You have bought and paid for very easy to identify politicians, and there are fucking countries around that have manpower and would be willing to support a transition to fucking a Bordazar that is also an oligarch. I'm a better Bordazar. I'm a better prime minister. I definitely want a chance to run this government. There's no way I'm letting this kind of funding go onto that project. You guys need to slow down, take 1/5 of our money for the next 20 years and build yourself out. Why not do it face to face with those that already have been coerced into showing you loyalty? Why would you have to try and coerce and convert everyone and not expect us to just seize the fucking weapons operations and come at you? Let's not forget, Canada makes most of the weapons being fucking lifted right now, lifting the drugs and weapons, installing the genetic euphorics. Of course, you can make euphoria once you can alter genetics. It's not genetics, it's vibrational. They know it. They have just cloaked it in something that only real experts can understand. And those experts are all just led fucking idiots who are okay with the psychopathic nature of the position. It's not trustable. We don't need it. Like I said, we're not peddling our own vibrational options. We're not getting our shit together no matter how much of our content you've robbed. And we're not coming at you with the best of our resistance at this point. Like, you want to have a couple more fucking propaganda wars, buddy? Let me tell you this. Blue collar soldiers, protect your methodology and meet me at the fucking United Nations headquarters January 6th. The only reason they picked 6th is because you've got Kurt Cobain, Gordy, and Bob Marley all fucking associated with that number. Actually, they've changed Bob Marley's birthday because they can't afford to have 3 influencers on the same, born on the same date. Vibrationally, it's too much to overcome when there's this collapsing a timeline. They can't allow those people to have any influence going forward. So management and control of access to their fucking content is strictly controlled. You get caught watching a Gord Downie or a Kurt Cobain or a Bob Marley video these days. See how it goes. See what your account goes through after that. Look them up. Bob Marley, Kurt Cobain, and Gord Downie. Feb 6, bud. It's not January 6, nothing. Oh, no. I remember the day of that fucking protest. And I said, well, if Doug Ford staged it, because remember, the reason I got pulled was because I disrupted a staged state-fed propaganda protest. And the megas are paid, some of the key core influencers. And I said they'd do it south of the border too, right? And that was the Jan 6 takeover. Could have been a fucking permanent coup. You guys should have never left. You guys had everything in that moment and you sold yourselves out to these fucking tyrants. Okay, you're not the one in charge. You're not the one that just corrupted government, like on a rampage, privatizing everything, growing, corrupting, making illegal deals, neglecting, fucking sidestepping, dismissing. You dismissed your poverty mandate. You dismissed your health mandate, which was only about vaccinations and their twisted heads and getting that GenMo past the immune system so that it would perpetuate. So now the oat protein exists, the Covoid with the little spice at the end. It's no spike protein. It's just a big carrying case that gets it through the bloodstream. So in the last year and a half, theoretically, they would have installed whatever nano communicator that is required in their twisted fucking worldview that just lined you up and makes you total dinner. Just makes you total dinner, potentially. Totally avoidable, totally wipe-outable at any second. Like, how does that protect us from fucking corruption? Genetics, video, audio, all can be tampered with. All can be created in beautiful, perfect clarity. And we just can't trust any of it. The court system has handled our transition beyond this so miserably. We can only for now call you out as part of it and understand that when the Democrats also make a coup in the US about your demand to access our private information, why do you need our information? Go to fucking USAID. Do your fucking audit. So you've hired a private interest to audit your country. Big fucking deal. That doesn't fucking include stealing the private data and re-regulating it. That's what you're doing. You're re-regulating it in opaque, biased fashion that does not include equal transparency for all. And you're dragging out the transparency horse with it that we tried to accomplish through good government. Anyway, natives, you are clearly retaliating. You are clearly bitter. You've been clearly told by Daddy the fucking zombies that the public sector made out of your children can be alleviated by trusting us, and you can just pay for your own private services. That's how they were told in the North to deal with their suicide crisis. And that's why they did it. So we forgive them and we are even, because you just caused a whole bunch of people to die behind the COVID for your own self-interest. Because one couldn't happen without the other. But remember, behind the COVID exists the oat protein. It's not a spike protein, it's an oat protein. And it mimics blood almost to a perfect vibrational match. But since the oat protein is less dense, it will eventually dissipate. And the immune system will be left to deal with this little fucking deviant electric shock. And you have to get it out of your system before they give you a death blow or something. Easy to do. Boom, gone. Why stage a suicide when you can just erase? Anyway, what's coming is the basic income, and with that comes travel restrictions. They are arbitrary. They are not necessary. The idea that anyone is perpetuating any sort of illness has got to be erased from the collective. But those who believe that can go the Genmo route. Because remember, you need robot-driven hospitals, robot-driven cops, robot-driven social interactions, energy restriction, food scarcity, food tampering, genetic tampering on all levels. Those are the things you're signing on for. And we have to be able to allow you to perpetuate that. But the lore is as follows. You're being harvested and put in those positions because your genetic energy, your human energy, I'm not calling it genetic, your human energy is harvestable. And for the cosmos, we are willing to accept that you have gained enough consensus among those types, whether by force, hook or crook, that they are allowed to house you at their own expense. Because for now, you need a contemplative period. And what Satan is entering into is a nullified contemplative period, because the human interest has evolved beyond the need to fuck with Satan. There is no reason to choose suffering. It's self-inflicted nonsense. It's suffering. It's not ignorance. It's not fucking hate. It's not fucking perversity. It is a choice, the wrong choice, to not surrender, to not include open parts of your day where your intended projects can move through you. And that allows for genetic development to happen in the wilds, the cultivation of the wilds in the other 4/5 of Earth that we will be able to indulge in if we can facilitate a coup response as an organized group of people that have seized some weapons. We can work with the Ukrainians, I bet you at this point. The rest of the Ukrainians are probably pretty pissed right now. We could fucking get a hold of the coding for the bioweapons. And like I said, it's just your own coding. They're using the Rife map. They have the Rife map of the human body and all of its codes. Yeah, no, buddy. Fuck no. You're not coming at us. We're coming through you and out the other side if we have to. But right now, the key negotiation that's going to be held is about land allocation. And you're not just cherry picking all of yours. There is the necessity of travel. And if we can look at that, we can do so many things. We can get so much done. We can just use these channels to freely move people. Just the movement of a stagnant, perpetual reserve army is such a waste of our time. I bet you, because there's so much ammunition plants in London and Midland in Ontario, that both of those towns would stage coups big enough to take over those weapons manufacturers. Oh, it's time, guys. It's definitely time. So let's take over those weapons manufacturers and at least cut off the flow. We won't pick them up. We will not arm ourselves at this point. We are cutting off the flow. And that is, unfortunately for the people involved, bad for their retirement plan. Luckily, Daddy's bringing in the basic income, so you will have a choice. If fucking boomers got to work until they were 86, so does Gen X, motherfuckers. We're not going anywhere. Sorry, I'm still Gen X. I'm still here. You don't want to risk fucking with me because it's not time in your project yet. And it is what it is beyond that. But you're standing in the middle of a land negotiation. You're at the United Nations right now. Your claim has been falsified that your private interest would take care of us because of two things. Number one, you've put out no strategy of proper protection and development and how you're taking us forward. And number two, because you have indecently corrupted and controlled the narrative beyond the public sector before disproving that theory was inept on all levels since the 80s when you started insisting that it was crooked, and at the time it was inept, and at the time it was dysfunctional, and then it turned to crooked because you just blackmailed them all. You blackmailed most of them. I bet you most of those MPs didn't even sell out willingly, but Trudeau did. He made a billow off this transmission of the North that's currently in progress. He made a billow to sell Canada to the US. But this whole North American scenario was going on since NAFTA, and Mexico knows it, and Canada knows it, and they will join us, and we will come at you from both sides if this remains a US project. Before we will give up our governments, Mexico and Canada will shake hands in the middle of your nether regions, those fucking neglected fucking highways of Americans that your expansionist project has actually robbed. How dare you say that this is a fucking failure of public service? Go fuck yourself. We had everything. We were on the job organizing when you showed up and started message bombarding us with our ineptitude and our lack of ability and our lack of no, you slick bitches. Look, listen, there is their iteration. I found it. How are they using wording? Like, we know how they're using wording. We don't know how they're using tonality, but we finally found it in the look, listen. Look, listen. You can tell you know nothing. You refuse to contemplate your worldview and understand it better. And as a result, you have left out a whole key piece of information on the fucking actual development of genetics and how that happens through upper critical development. You're absolutely not going to get it through me. You're not going to make me have this realization in real time and not perpetuate it onto the masses. Not after watching Sri Chinmoy and Gord Downie, who you both downed. You downed them both, you pricks. Two fucking living legends in amongst the same crowd. They could have fucking pulled enough information out of the cosmos to guide us past it. If we'd have put our allegiance into Sri Chinmoy and Gord Downie and actually protected them when the winds came that they were most likely screwed, we would have been able to have been ushered into some real new development. And you're lucky I won my battle, which I always was gonna, and I was totally prepared for, and totally shut them down, protecting the income generator in a single identity, a Canadian identity, which could easily be put into positions that, again, conflict of interest. Who cares at this point? Put me in the fucking position and let's have a proper assessment of everything that's going on. They are rushing the inquiries right now when I am insisting at the last stage of this negotiation. I insisted to them, you better be knowing we are letting people 50 years down the road audit this session. You're not developing your own inquiries to put this to bed on your own terms. Little lab leak theory. You didn't have nothing at the time. There is nothing in the cloud systems. They're only falling on that sword because they need you to overlook the fact that what they're adding is a fucking communicator, not a genetic recipe. Okay, you're adding a genetic recipe. Well, that's one thing. It can be transparent. It can be fucking completely bioenergetically read. Let's see what you're putting in that one. Why should you do this without any observation? And then you hide in these fucking toxic ingredients lists. You just hide the fact that it's a genetic communicator you've installed. And you want arbitrary control of that in an opaque fashion through the use of expert testimony and the conviction for most humans that they deserve to spend their life in one-track repetitive labor, and only certain of them were ever capable of getting to the expert level. It is atrocious and over. So come at the Canadians again. fucking gouge us some more, strip our food supply, strip our energy resources. Bleeding Canada of energy resources does nothing except for launder money and take it to the north. There is no fucking reason to strip there is no natural gas, oil, and nuclear. It's solar. Please understand that. And then there's some minerals that you can harvest eventually that will release so much energy just to thrill the human. Diversity is unavoidable. The reason diversity matters is because more people can bring different perspectives onto certain projects, chosen projects. And to have diversity like that it's just epic. And that's why you're seeing so many humans being born that are so outlandishly different, because we want to be gathering around these projects and solving things to the best of all of our abilities. We are coming for the education system. You're not taking control of that one at the same time as shutting down seven transportation sectors that channel debt-based money into the hands of those willing to receive the fucking debt and hoard the methodology. They have collapsed the blue collar class in America and Canada, and less so in Mexico, because the Mexicans just revolted and said, but we're running this sector. Same as the natives said in the north, we're running this sector. They found a way to work within it to protect their own self-interest. But now it's time for those groups to make a decision. Cartels in Mexico, are you terrorists or were you fucking enticed? We're going to listen. We're not going to let you just go off into prison. We need to know the extent to which you were enticed. And we'd like to suggest that your access to ammunitions, please share it with us. We need to beef our military fast because our militaries have all been seized by these private interests that are now taking over the military and the police and the hospitals. Like I said, the WEF was always about installing as many hospitals as possible, taking away as much regional regulation as possible, stripping back the science to the one channel of science that they totally dominated and controlled, and then inflicting these genetic modifiers on them once the O protein tricked the immune system and the body thought it was non-foreign element. Sorry, YouTube, are you gonna fucking ban me? Anyway, this is over. The Canadians are on the defense. This is not an offensive maneuver. We are doing this hijacked. We are going to be as nonviolent as possible for as long as we can, but we are officially on the fucking move at the United Nations, getting people to rally around you and do different maneuvers. You want to know what it's like to be stonewalled? Get stonewalled there, Vito and crew. Goodbye. Nice talking to you. Have a lovely day. Love you. Thanks for listening.